Okay, so like I said, uh, for almost 2 weeks now, as I told you that the output for for the second month will be just one, and it will be a module um, for the subject or for the topic that you chose for your um, for your PowerPoint presentation. So if you chose a good subject, then good for you. If not, maybe it's time to reconsider. All right. So just bear in mind that you are going to use your PowerPoint presentation, and you're going to attach it in your Google Classroom. Remember that. My only advice for you is that your module should reflect your Google Classroom. I will be looking at them both. Right? So today I'll be discussing your module. So a module looks like this. This is what your module looks like. This is what your actual module looked like before we edited it and before we actually limited the number of pages. So as you can see, originally it was 33 pages and it was compressed into around 12 pages when it was given to you guys. Right. So I'll try to walk you through all the parts of the module, and um, your goal is to try to duplicate it in your own way. Bear in mind that I don't want you to use this as a format or a pattern for your module. All I need is um, we need the same parts. We don't need clones, we don't need duplicates, we just need um, modules with similar components. As long as the detail is there, as long as it's on the right page, I will be fine with that. Alright, so let's get to it. This is the first page. So this is the module for Educ 32, first module. This is all about Microsoft, the introduction lesson, right? So first we have the cover. This will be this this will include the picture that will represent your module for um, the entire month, if your module encompasses an entire month. But for your case, your module will only include at least um, two lessons, so that will be good for 2 hours. Alright, so let's just pretend that you have one unit of that subject every week. So you have to create a module good for 2 weeks. Right, so it doesn't matter if you have to if you have to make a module that's good for senior high school or for elementary. It doesn't matter. As long as the content is there and as long as the parts are correct, I'll be fine with that. So the first part is, again, the cover page, and it has a picture or something that represents your subject. Then next, we have the course. So the course will be the group of students that take your subject. So it can be the grade or the year, right? Or the section. You can put it there. Subject will be uh, the name of the subject that you're going to teach. Sometimes for colleges, you can see you have a course code, but I don't know about elementary or high school. If you have it, then it's good. If not, then it's alright too. Just give me the subject here. Alright? So just remember, it has to be in the correct order. Course, subject, and units. You can replace units with schedule. It will be fine. Because it can be understood that your subject is worth 2 hours or 1 hour, 2 hours. You can decide how many hours you want your subject to be. If you want to hold a 3-unit subject, if you think your subject is a major for senior high or for elementary, if you think the students need 2 hours for that, and if it's actually appropriate for the year, then that's fine too. Alright. So next we have this blue part over here, the Microsoft Office Applications, the module title. So this is actually the title of the entire module. So you have to make sure that for the two subjects you have one encompassing title for the two of them, so they have to be related to each other, right? So you can figure it out on your own. The next we have a logo. You can put a logo of a school over here if you want, whatever school you want to represent. You can put that there as long as it matches this. See, we have a footer over here. So remember that this logo over here is the same as the logo placed here. And here's the name of the school and the address. Okay, so that's page 1. As you can see, we don't have a footer here, right? I've already taught you in the second video for module 2 about I've already taught you how to hide a footer if you want, so you don't have to worry about that. You will learn it there in that video. I believe the title is Session for Designing Your Pages for Educ 32. It's uploaded as a public video on YouTube in the channel Modular Potato, so you can go there and check it out. So the next page, which is page 2, as you can see here, just remember that you have to try to make a footer that looks like this, or at least it contains these things, right? So let me just discuss this, and I'll discuss the footer to you. So the second page is technically a guide for the students. So here we have again the years, or the group of students that will take the subject. Then you will entitle it the modular learning materials. All right, that is what you call this module, a modular learning material. So then we have again subject codes. You can just put math 4, math 1. If for example it's mathematics for the first grade, then it can be math 1. I think that will be okay. And for subject description, you can put mathematics 4 or something. I don't know what you call mathematics. Do you just call it mathematics there? So if that's the case, you can just use that thing. And for subject unit, again, it will count how many hours your subject should be, or it can be the schedule of your lesson. If you think you have a good basis for the lesson, then you can put it there. Next, the next part is the list of modules. So the list of modules is sorry. So the list of modules is good to help your students know what number or the code of their module. It will let them know how many modules there should be and how many modules they have finished already. Right, so as you can see, the color, that's just a table with a bit of formatting, and as you can see, the current module is actually colored differently, so that's how you show a module. Alright, so I think that's page 2. That's just page 2. Now let's discuss the footer. So when I open the footer, here we have it. So this is the footer. This is actually a Tesla style footer. It was provided by Sir Carlos, by the administrator to us. So this is what we follow. So as you can see here, this is just a table inside the footer. You can format it in other ways, but I suggest that you try to copy this because it is quite challenging. It will be fun to see if you can actually do this. Because if you can do this, then kudos to you. You're very good at formatting your table formatting. Just remember that it isn't actually static. The page changes every time. Say this is page 2, and below this is page 3. This is not manually encoded. This is actually a page from the footers. Alright, so here we have the logo of the school. Here we have the course code and the subject name. Here we have the date when you finished making this module. Okay, it's not the date when you started, it's the date when you finished. Then the developer, which is you the teacher. Then the document number 1. This is the version number. It depends. It can be document number 2 if I approve this and I edited it. You decided to edit it. You have to write the version number over here. But I expect all of your modules to be document number 1 because it's the first version of your subject. Then we have issued by SLTC FPI. That will be your school, your selected school. Then revision number. It's like that. I'm sorry. Document number 1. Just keep it as is. Revision number is the number of times you edited it after I approved it. So I expect it to all be 1, right? Or since we aren't actually trying to edit it, we can just put 0 in it. It'll be fine. Just put 0 in revision. And lastly, we have the page number over here, right? So you'll be able to see in session for designing your pages, that video. You'll be able to see how you can actually make your pages and fix them in the header or footer. So you can do that there. Right, so I'm going to close the header and footer tab, and we're back to the regular document format. So now we have this part, how to use this module. You can copy this if you want. These are just instructions on how to use your module. You can actually write your own, right? It's alright if you write your own. See? You can use this as a format or you can write your own. It'll be fine. And next we have this, the desired learning outcome 1. This is technically the shortcut or the abridged version of all the contents of your module, because we don't have a table of contents for our module. Right. So here you see the topics, the title of your lessons or the topics. So here, since I only asked you to put 2 topics, so you only have 2 here, not 4. Right. Then textbook or references, you can put your links here, and I prefer it if you use a book, but if you can't find a book, as long as you have some reliable links, that'll be fine as well. Alright, just don't give me the link that says google.com or wikipedia.com, because that is a very vague link. Give me a specific website, then maybe I'll reconsider. Alright? Next we have the LA, teaching and learning activities. So here you just put this, student enrolled in Google Classroom can access materials and quiz, and below it you can put student enrolled in the modular type can also have access to the module and quiz and activities. Alright. Then here we have assessment of tasks. This will actually list the actual tasks listed inside your module. So if I say there's a quiz 1.1 here, I'm sure that there is also a quiz 1.1 over here after the lesson 1.1. So you can see over here. Here is quiz 1.1. And this is activity 1.1. As you can see, it's also listed in the content page. See, activity 1.1. So that's what you do. The next we have resource materials. These are the things that are available for your students. Right? So you have to list them down so they will know if they actually have the complete package or not. Right? So you can copy that if you want. You can add some if you have some things to add. And lastly, we have the timetable. Then it depends on you with regards to how many hours you want your subject to be, and it has to be realistic. Alright, don't put 10 hours and just paste an entire 100-page PowerPoint in here. It doesn't work like that. It has to be yours. It has to be your lesson. Alright? It has to be good for 2 hours or 6 hours depending on what you're actually teaching. So again, it has to be realistic. This may not be a real module, but still strive for realism. And here we've moved on to the content. So here we have lesson 1.1. This code is important because the 1 here means module 1, and the next one means lesson number 1. This actually means the first lesson in module 1. That is lesson number 1, lesson 1.1. If it becomes lesson 2.1, it means we're already in module 2, and it's the first lesson in module 2. Lesson 1.2 means the second lesson in module 1. That's how we keep track of our lessons. And bear in mind, if a lesson 1.1 has a quiz, it has to be quiz 1.1. And if your lesson has 2 quizzes, then it has to be quiz 1.1-1 and quiz 1.1-2. Okay? A dash, like a minus. So it has to show that, or quiz 1.1-1, quiz 1.1-2, it has to show that lesson 1.1 has 2 quizzes, and there's the first quiz and the second quiz. So you have to be careful on how you write your codes for your lessons. So next we have the title. It's here. Then we have the objectives. So you just have to write the objectives. Remember that it has to be like this. I know you already know how to write objectives. I'm not in the place to lecture you about how to write your own objectives. Alright? Then next we have the lessons. Here we have topics, then here's the content. It depends on you. As long as it's good for 1 hour. Don't dump a whole pile of information to your students. Right? Don't dump data. Choose your data wisely and give them the appropriate information. Give them enough data that's good for 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. Alright? That's your job. And here we have the activity. As you can see, activity 1.1. It means that's the activity for lesson 1.1. Then here are the instructions. And I advise you to place a correction sheet after this. Alright? activity 1.1, then correction sheet for activity 1.1 in a separate piece of paper. Alright? Then lastly, we have the quizzes over here. Same. You put your instructions, and after you put your instructions, a quiz can be open-ended. It can ask for short questions, short answers. It can also be a matching type, crossword, whatever. However you define a quiz. Alright? As long as it's possible to check and it's possible to answer, I don't mind a little variety when it comes to quizzes. And again, I need for an activity, I need an example output from you. Alright? Or I need a student that actually took the exam and you checked it for the module. Right? Again, for the module, you have to have a classmate that's not you. And that classmate has to take the exam, has to take your quizzes, and they have to comply to the requirements. Right? Just one student, one offline student and one online student. That's enough for me. Alright? That's what we have. So for your offline student, the offline student has to take all the quizzes and all the exams, and you have to check them before you submit them to me. Alright? Then lastly, I think we're done. You only have to duplicate the lessons, right? You only have to make 2 lessons or content good enough for 2. So after that, all you have to do is print your module. I think it's only around 8 pages. I think it doesn't have to be colored, but if it's colored, then that's good. I can give you credit for that, for the appearance of your module. And bear in mind, it has to be organized too. See how it's all uniform and the fonts are the same, the sizes are the same. So you have to keep that integrity with your data, with your document. Alright? So it's also justified, as you can see over here. So you have to really show that it's an organized piece of data, and don't make a module that even you don't want to read. Alright? Make a module that's readable, a module that you can actually navigate on your own. Alright? Don't be that kind of teacher. Alright, so I think that's enough for the instructions for the modules. Again, your output for this will be printed. And one student has to take all the exams, and you have to check it before you submit it to me. Alright? So you need to make a module and to make a correction, a table of correction, right? Or a correction sheet. At least one with answers. Then you have to make them take the exam, and you have to check that exam, or rather the quiz and the activity. Alright? And quiz and activity. I keep saying exams, but I mean quiz and activity. Alright? So after that, just remember that you also have to make a classroom that reflects the content of this module. So again, you have to put all the data from here and convert it into a decent Google Classroom. And there you have to have another friend of yours to take on the role of your online student. Just one online student will be fine. And then you have to just enroll them there. You don't have to create your quizzes yet. Alright? Just enroll them there. I think I'll be able to make the instructions for your quizzes. Yeah. So you can remember that the quizzes here in your module should be the same as the quizzes and the activity in the classroom. So it should reflect. It's just the same content in different platforms. So it has to be like that. Then afterwards, what else? You should add me as your co-teacher so I can be able to check your work. Right, I'll be giving you the email afterwards. Maybe I'll make another one for you guys. So I think that's it. That's one output good for 2 months. We'll be discussing the deadlines later since your exam is fast approaching. So we'll be discussing that later. And good luck.